Hey everybody, just to kind of stay in the swing of things and getting a video out there every day, I'm just going to elaborate a little bit more on what I talked about yesterday, and then I'm going to move on to something else real quick. Yesterday I was talking about the Fine Brothers and their decision to try to take over the internet, so to speak. I wanted to clarify my stance on copyright. Copyright is a necessity. We need it. It's something that is very important for the production and the preservation of your ability to protect your own work. What they were doing was a little bit out of the bounds of that. I think they were trying to monopolize the specific idea instead of just protecting their own stuff. I was mentioning something about copyright. It was an analogy I was making, or a reference. Analogy. It was an analogy I was making, trying to equate copywriting things like pencils and papers and paintbrushes and things like that. I'm pretty sure I got the idea across, but I just want to elaborate because I can see where it can be wrong. I was doing the captions and I heard it a couple times and I was like, that could be a problem. You can copyright the actual objects if you're making those objects. If you are making the specific thing, fine, you can copyright that. The use of those things is a totally different story. If I bought this thing now, I have the right to use it in any way, shape, or form for my own needs. Now, there are some legalities that restrict the use of certain things here and there. When something is relatively generalized, like a paintbrush or a pencil, fine. When it's more along the lines of like a movie clip, yeah, you gotta kind of pay royalties when need be. Music, you gotta pay royalties when need be, because that is a work. That is a piece of art on its own. If it's classified as a piece of work, chances are you gotta pay the royalties and copyrights on it. But what they were trying to copyright wasn't a piece of work, it was more of an idea, and that's why the internet bit him in the butt. That being said, the Fine Brothers decided to move away from it, which I'm glad they did, because it lets them save face a little bit and kind of recuperate their lost numbers. They didn't lose a lot. They had millions of subscribers, so they basically lost like a fraction of that. But to see how many they lost in that amount of time was kind of amazing and scary at the same time. So I'm glad they're back on track on doing their thing. Moving back to just doing the React videos the way that they need to be done. I'm glad they're not trying to copyright specific words and phrases anymore and specific ideas, but they can copyright their format all they want. That's fine. If they want to copyright the actual format in which they do things, so that nobody copies their exact style, then okay, whatever. But if somebody makes a similar style, they shouldn't be knocked on it. And honestly, we shouldn't hate each other for the ability to create certain styles, because mimicking somebody else's style is flattering. So unless they're being harmful with it, with your style, you shouldn't jump down their throat about it. That's just my stance on the whole thing. That being said, I have a lot of plans coming up the next couple of weeks, which I'm really excited about. I have some conventions coming up that I cannot wait to be at, and it's going to be very exciting. I'm going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be great. I hope to see anybody who's watching this. If you guys are in my area, you know more about me. If you know me, basically, I hope to see you guys there. The first event coming up is Flurry. I am ecstatic for Flurry right now. That's coming up on the 12th to the 14th. It goes right into Valentine's Day. Originally, I was going to go only for 2 days and then have Valentine's Day off for myself, and I had some plans, but also wanted to get into the Flurry for free, so I've signed up for volunteer work, and I did actually get in. So now that I got in for the volunteer work, I don't know if they'll need me for all 3 days. I'm assuming they'll need me for all 3 days to do something, and unfortunately, that meant I had to give up my Valentine's Day plans. But that's okay. I rescheduled those. Dance Flurry is all about dance. I am, as much as I like to consider myself a dancer, I'm still fairly new to the whole world of dance. I started swing dancing. Any of my family, if you guys ever meet any of my family and they talk about me when I was little, they will tell you. I was never one to be a dancer. I didn't like getting up on the dance floor. I was very nervous all the time. And a lot of that is partially due to two things. One, I had serious anxiety towards that type of thing. And two, a lot of the times we did dance, it was usually at family stuff like weddings and stuff like that. And I was always shy anyway to begin with. So getting up on the dance floor was not something I was doing. And then there's a 3. What they were doing on the dance floor didn't seem like dancing to me. When I picture dancing, I picture elaborate movements and gracefulness and whatever. And a lot of stuff that I saw at the parties and at the weddings wasn't really that. So it wasn't something that was appealing to me to begin with. A friend of mine, almost a year, it's coming on to a year now. Probably 2 years now, actually. I have to look back on the calendar. A friend of mine got me into swing dance, and he's been trying to get me into swing dance for a long time now. Before I actually got into it, and I don't know why I didn't start it sooner. It's a lot of fun. So if you guys want something that's great to do, gets you out there meeting people, do some swing dance, man. It's great. Let me tell you, I have so much fun swing dancing. I've met a lot of really interesting people. I don't know if it's okay to mention names on this because it's going to be a public thing, so I don't want to do that, but let's just say that everybody that I've met has been very friendly, very kind, very considerate, and they've just been amazing in terms of just getting me to a point in my life where I now feel more confident with something that I usually would shy away from and be just introverted. And I did last year. I went to the dance flurry. I went for 1 day. It was actually during a really bad time in my life. There was funerals and stuff like that I had to go to, and I was back down in the area, and I was like, you know what? Let me just go. My friend was telling the same guy that got me into swing. He was like, told me about about the event, and I just ended up going and showing up, and I had the time of my life. It was just 1 day. It was just 1 day. I met so many people. And I was just having fun all night, and I saw a lot of my friends from schools that I've been to. So I can only imagine what this year is going to be like. It's going to be great. And then I have another event coming up after that, in a couple weeks after that. There's Genericon coming up. Now, Genericon, for those of you who don't know, Genericon is basically just a generic convention. Hence the name Genericon. I go every year. I've gone for about 10 years. It's great. Some years are hit or miss, but overall, it's really nice. This year, I'm really hoping that they space everything out. I mean, I don't mind when things overlap. I just hate it when everything's all at the same time. That was a couple years ago. It was like that. I'm hoping for better panels this year, better events, better side games, things like that. But overall, it's just getting out there and meeting a group of nerds and geeks, just like I'm a nerd and a geek. And I'm excited to be a part of it every year. I'm definitely going to get to see some of my old friends there. I know a lot of people who go, so it's going to be great. One last thing I want to touch on is Google. Google is doing some amazing things right now. They are going to crack down on the download button, but not the right download button, not the actual download button. They're going to crack down on download buttons that lead you nowhere, like the redirect buttons, the ones that trick you. They're finally going to crack down on that, and I'm glad they're doing that. Now, if they can only stop the algorithm, the search algorithm, I hate that thing. The algorithm, it's counterproductive. And let me tell you why. First off, the algorithm makes it so that when you search for something, every one of your searches has bearance on every one of your future searches. So if I was to search for, let's say, Egypt or something historical, I will get searches geared on that historicalness based on things that I've searched on before. So if I searched on pyramids, then the thing that's going to show up in Egypt the most for my searches are going to be pyramids. We tested this. Me and a couple friends tested this, and sure enough, that's what happened. My searches came, because I do that type of historical searching. I do like looking up artifacts and things that are past civilizations left behind. So my search for Egypt basically geared up things on the pyramids. But my friend's search, he's a more politically driven person, he looks for things like conflict in the world and things of that nature. His first search was of the conflicts. Now, I know that doesn't seem like a bad thing, but when you really think about it, it can encase you in a bubble. So, like, if you are a political activist and all you ever search for are things that support your idea, it will eventually phase out everything that negates your idea. So if this search engine is set up the way that I think it is, it will basically place you in a bubble of your own beliefs, and it will always reassure that your belief is right. When in fact, if your belief is flawed and completely wrong to have, it can make you will never see it. You will never see the opposite side of the argument. And that's bad. That's really bad, especially if you're trying to be a critical thinker. Somebody geared towards seeing both sides of the issue, seeing the whole picture. So I'm advocating kinda to just like stop using Google for research. Unfortunately, so long as algorithm exists, I don't feel it's a proper thing to have when it comes to looking for actual information of what's going on in the world. I feel like it can just hinder your ability to be an individual and to make up your own mind. Because all it's really going to do is just going to tell you, it's basically giving you candy. You're always going to want the candy, and the more that you get it, the more you're going to want it, because you become addicted to it. In the same instance that candy is addictive, this type of search engine basically is saying that your ideas are right, when in reality, you might not always be right, and all you're doing is finding supporting claims. And there's a psychological term for it, I can't remember what it's called, but ideally speaking, it just places you in a bubble of your own thoughts, and it reinforces what you think is right, as opposed to correcting what you think is right. And as human beings, we should always strive for being right, but being right for right's sake, not for being right for your own sake. And I really don't want to use Google for that type of searching anymore. So just guys out there, just be careful when you're using Google if you're doing it for research, if you're using it for protecting what you think is right. If you are using it for basic searches, fine, that's cool. But if you're using it for actual research, it's not, I don't recommend it as a tool anymore. Especially if you're a student. Google is not going to be as reliable. I do recommend using a search engine like DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo doesn't do the tracking. It doesn't track your history, your preferences. It doesn't create a catered list. It doesn't follow you. It doesn't do that type of thing. It gives you 100% unfiltered search results, except for, you know, safe mode and safe mode on and off. So if safe mode's on, I would say 75%, because let's face it, there's a lot of dirty things on the internet. Dirty. I recommend DuckDuckGo. I recommend it for all research projects. I recommend it for any kind of, like, whenever you're trying to argue a point. I recommend using that as your reference to make sure that what you're saying is true. Alright? There are a lot of websites out there that claim to be proper websites. They claim to be educated websites, and they're tabloid. They put up a good front, and they're tabloid. It's one thing to be a website driven with an agenda, like a news channel is, like ABC News versus Fox News, or things of that nature. It's one thing to be a website like that. It's another thing to be a tabloid site, or a opinion site. A lot of opinionated sites pass themselves off as factual, and that's misleading, and that's wrong. If you're the type of person that caters what you think as true and then find things to back it up, this is only going to lead you down a road of despair. If you're the type of person that thinks critically, where you want to find opposing things to your view so that you can find ways to prove them wrong or to learn from them, then you want a search engine that gives you the ability to do that. And DuckDuckGo gives you that ability to do that. Google is literally slowly stripping your ability away. I wish they would just not do it, because then I wouldn't talk such ill will about it. Like, Google does do a lot of good things, and, you know, I mean, heck, they're in charge of YouTube right now. But the algorithm, it's just not, it's not conducive. It's really not, and I really hope that somebody out there does hear this and they can advocate for a way to get it changed, because, you know, I don't want to see Google go down because of something like this, or it, you know, people hate them for it. I just, in terms of research, I would not use Google. In terms of anything else, fine. But actual research, don't do it. Actual research, use DuckDuckGo. And that's that. So, that being said, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, just put it down in the comments below. And this is Imzak, just saying adieu. Until next time, thanks for watching.